Congratulations, you have made it to Module 4. Yeah, we've made it to the last module of the semester, and I know that's very exciting. And this module basically starts off in chapter 27 with the 60s. A decade that is so iconic of all the chapters in our class, it actually gets to keep its own name. When we look at the 1960s in our class, we really have one of those climax moments is everything we've been talking about in terms of the Cold War issues of paranoia, culture of conformity, the struggles of the civil rights movement. All of this stuff comes to a culmination in this singular chapter. And part of the reason why that's happening is this idea of the youth generation, we talked about in chapter 26, finally coming of age with the baby boomers making it actually the largest generation in America. So when more of your people are young and those young people are trying to change the world, yeah, that's going to create quite a combustible mixture. With that said, the central issue that this all starts to revolve around is the Vietnam conflict. Because at no point does kind of the paranoia and the conformity that came out of the Cold War really kind of come to a moment of trust questions than in Vietnam. As young Americans are being drafted to fight in a conflict based on the domino theory, this concept of if you let one nation fall to communism, then communism will spread and you have to contain it. Remember the containment doctrine. Well, this basically brought into focus for a lot of young Americans the idea that is this really the job of the United States? And more importantly, what are you containing? And what does that tell you about yourself and your role in the world? And all of these questions really threw some Americans into doubt about the validity of everything in their government. And this was something we increasingly saw with this thing called the credibility gap. You have the development of something called the New Left that basically is designed to bring forward those questions about government, challenge the authority, and we're going to see by the end of the chapter, sometimes we'll even resort to violence. And then there's the counterculture. Whoops, they're going to be over here. The hippies. Okay, yeah, the hippies are an incredibly colorful part of this era in which we see young Americans basically trying to cast off everything that they understood about the culture that they had been brought up in American society. So, what does that leave for us? I mean, obviously, don't forget to do the slideshow, like always. There's a video about the assassination of John F. Kennedy and how this really affected young Americans and brought into focus this idea of the credibility gap, the idea of who can you trust and can you trust anybody. Then you've got a discussion bonus group about this idea of the anti-war movement and how it develops. Just like the war was a snowball effect. It starts off with the United States, trying to support the South Vietnamese. Before that, the French colonial presence, then the South Vietnamese, then we use bombers, and then from bombers we insert ground troops. Well, just like the snowball effect of the United States military presence in Vietnam, that's kind of how the anti-war movement works. And this discussion is asking us to kind of look at and talk about how that grows and develops over a period of years and the issues that are basically going into it. The big thing this week is don't forget that next week you have an essay due. Yep, essay 2 is due next week, and it's asking you to look at this increasing important role of the presidency in the United States as not only the leader of the United States, but the leader of the free world in the midst of the Cold War. And this sense of the central authority of the presidency has persisted long since the Cold War. So what this essay is asking you to do is to look at all the presidents that we might have seen in our class, starting in 1876 all the way to Joe Biden today, and pick the one president that you think best exemplifies those characteristic traits that you feel are important for a leader in the United States and the free world. And then you've got to kind of break it apart. What are the traits that you see in that individual? Remember, it's a 5-paragraph essay, so really good idea to come up with like 3 traits so that you can expand each with a body paragraph. And you need to remember to provide evidence to show, to demonstrate how that president is showing off that trait. Okay, so for example, if you say honesty is really important, make sure you show how that president is honest, or confront times that he might have been questioned on his honesty. Okay, specific evidence is what makes your paper right or wrong, because otherwise, yeah, it's just an opinion. Remember, if you have any questions about the essay, feel free to email me. And also remember, there are those chat sessions twice a week where we can sit there and you can ask questions and I can provide some more details to help you flesh out this essay topic. Otherwise, have a good week and we'll see you next time.